Hello and welcome as we continue our journey toward the fifth Sunday of Easter, May the 2nd, 2021. Today we will be looking at the Psalm, which is Psalm number 22, verses 25 through 31. And in my reflections, I'll refer to the broader Psalm as well. So if you want to take some time to read that whole thing at some point, please do so. It's well worth the read, and you've heard it before, and you'll understand in a few moments. But let me read for you the psalm and then share some reflections that I've gathered for today. From you comes my praise in the great assembly. I will perform my vows in the sight of those who fear the Lord. The poor shall eat and be satisfied. Let those who seek the Lord give praise. May your hearts live forever. All the ends of the earth shall remember and turn to the Lord. All the families of nations shall bow before the Lord. For dominion belongs to the Lord, who rules over the nations. Indeed, all who sleep in the earth shall bow down in worship. All who go down to the dust, though they be dead, shall kneel before the Lord. Their descendants shall serve the Lord, whom they shall proclaim to generations to come. They shall proclaim God's deliverance to a people yet unborn, saying to them, the Lord has acted. Here ends the psalm. Thanks be to God. Psalm 22 in total, and this part as well, is a lament, crying out to God for rescue, or at the very least, relief. This is the psalm we would typically read at the end of the worship service on Maundy Thursday, which is why I said it will be familiar to you. We read it during the stripping of the altar in preparation for Good Friday. So Psalm 22 begins its lament with the words that Jesus cries out from the cross on Good Friday. My God, why have you forsaken me? How odd is it during this long Easter season to return to the Psalm of Good Friday, the chilling scream of the crucifixion? We would much, I think, prefer to move on, to get over it, to sound the resurrection trumpet and to roll the stone back, to erase all of that unhappiness, that memory of the Good Friday tragedy and trauma. In fact, there are some Christian denominations that completely skip over Good Friday. They teach the foot washing from the Maundy Thursday reading from John, and then next comes Easter morning and the celebration of the resurrection. I'm not exactly sure what they tell their people about how Jesus ended up in the tomb. For Lutherans, at least, and other denominations, we connect Good Friday and Easter, and they're like two sides of the same coin. The crucifixion is always part of the gospel. We cannot get to Easter without Good Friday. And the resurrection, Jesus still bears the wounds in his hands, his wrists, his ankles, his side. And even though Jesus came as Messiah, as the Christ, we have not yet fully entered into what can be called the Messianic era. We are in the still now but not yet kind of living. There are still growing pains. There's still birth pangs, as Paul calls it in one of his letters. There are some theologians who claim that we have forgotten the art of the lament, or perhaps that we have given a half-hearted lament. We do cry out to God because of our troubles, because of our illnesses, because of our afflictions, and a variety of other reasons. What we seem to lack, they say, is patience in waiting for God's response. My theory is that from the advent of fast food in the 50s and 60s, the invention of the microwave, the multitude of pain relief medications, and pay at the pump gas stations, we have come to expect instant gratification. We're impatient at waiting for so much. And theologians teach that we have kind of inserted that need, desire, want for instant gratification from God. Hey, like Easter morning, we want God to meet us in the light, mostly by giving us what we want when we want it. And perhaps like Good Friday, God is inviting us to meet Him in the darkness and to learn to sit with Him in the midst of our troubles or illnesses or afflictions. Is there anything to learn from sitting with God within the darkness? Well, many people would just rather not. Christoph Barth, clergy and professor in Switzerland, or has been in Switzerland, I think he might have passed away by now, teaches that the Psalms are a school of prayer. They're not a primer in how to make your prayer more effective, in other words, to get what we want. They are rather a lesson in how to find God and live in union with God. The imagery of Psalm 22 elicits these deep emotional resonances within us. The imagery moves from a child on its mother's breast to being surrounded by bulls. It moves from being poured out like water to feeling like hot wax. It moves from a broken old piece of pottery to growling dogs. Wow. Psalm 22 exhibits a drama, an inner movement that transports the reader to a new place, an unanticipated destination. The reader is taken on a pilgrimage from sorrow to joy, from desolation to hope, from the cross to glory. There is an inevitable miracle of grace, a mind-boggling shift from lament to praise. We learn that the lament is not about people expressing their inner angst or even pouring out their soul. The lament is about God, who knows our grief, yet does not leave us alone, and perhaps even joins us in the pit, in the valley. Ultimately, God lifts us from the ash heap, and we come full circle to worship and praise God. Praise and hope. Even in the grip of darkness, it's not some idealistic fantasy that we live under. What the psalm promises will happen, perhaps not instantly, yet it will come. And it will happen because the cry of lament at the beginning of the psalm. My God, why have you forsaken me? This raging why question, it's never fully answered. Our query, why do bad things happen? It's not really ever resolved. Still, we hope. For we have sung the psalm with God's people, who have borne every conceivable agony over countless centuries. And we find ourselves carried forward on the tide of faith, on the surging wave of a powerful grace of God. Thank you for joining me today as we look at the Psalm for Sunday, the 5th Sunday of Easter, May the 2nd, 2021. I hope you're having a great day. Take care. God bless.